Hello again, dear viewer. We're back again today with World Cup 2014's Group C, a group widely considered a lucky draw for all four of the countries that inhabit it. Those countries are Colombia, Greece, Ivory Coast, and Japan, all middle-of-the-road teams with equal chances of getting out of their group.
Well, almost equal, I should say. Colombia heads the group, and they have something of a checkered history with World Cup. In 1990, they had a pretty decent team, one that made a couple of waves with stars like Carlos Valderrama and Freddy Rincon, who scored an amazing goal on Germany in group stages in the closing seconds of that game, and that earned them a spot in the knockout stages. Only they were defeated by Cameroon in their very next match and eliminated from the cup. See what I mean? Goalie mistake. 4 years later, Colombia's team, now a seasoned and solid team so formidable it was capable of defeating us Argentines in our own homeland 5-0, was considered one of the dark horse favorites to win that tournament. But they were defeated in group stages, and they even scored upon themselves for further demoralization. The defender who made the mistake was killed shortly on his return to Colombia. Some say it was drug cartel related, others swear it was vengeance for the own goal that he scored. Colombia's last appearance at a World Cup was in 1998, where they also failed to get out of that group. This time around, they have an impressive team that could upset just about any prediction you make. But if history is any indication, it's going to take some doing for Colombia to dispel the ghost of its past. Expect striker Radamel Falcao, one of the best in the world, to be the star of the show in this group. They start off against Greece in Belo Horizonte, a match I'm sure will be interesting just to watch two completely different styles of play. Then Colombia flies to Brasilia to face Ivory Coast, and depending on how well they did against Greece, it could be all up to their morale to decide whether they qualify here. Colombia finishes its campaign in Cuiabá against Japan. A lot of analysts place Colombia as the runaway favorite in this group. I think this could be their chance, as in previous World Cups they've always had a giant in their group to deal with, or in 1994 they just had a strong Romanian team and USA playing for honor at home. This time, Colombia has relatively less threatening teams in their way. Greece is another one of those teams that are always 3 and out in every World Cup they participate in. 1994 and 2010 were their last two appearances, and they were eliminated in group stages back then. So no one expects them to do well. Then again, they did win Euro Cup 2004, and to date, this is their greatest achievement. But that's going to be a decade-old memory for them by the time World Cup rolls around, and their team right now has a similar problem as Australia's. That is, there's quite a few old players that'll inevitably be a lot slower now than they were 4 years ago. Greece squares off against an energized Colombia. Containing the talented Falcao in Belo Horizonte in this game may prove way too much for this Greece, who faced little-known and easy teams and still made it only second in their qualifying matches, which forced them into a playoff spot against Romania. They have a considerably easier match 5 days later in Natal against Japan, a game they'll likely have to win, but again, against a comparably younger and more energetic team. They close their group trip against Ivory Coast in Fortaleza, probably demoralized and possibly already eliminated by then. I sincerely don't fancy Greece's chance one bit. Ivory Coast, like Greece, has not been able to make it out of the group stages, ever. But both of their last appearances, 2006 and 2010, they were forced into a group with two big teams, Argentina and Netherlands in 2006, Brazil and Portugal in 2010. This time they may have a significantly easier draw, but their team is virtually the same it's been since 2006 and obviously hasn't gotten any younger as a result. Star Didier Drogba has been with the team since then. He's 35 years old now, and he'll still likely be the central focus of the team. They square off against Japan in Recife, then play a likely decisive match against Colombia in Brasilia 5 days later, and end their campaign in Fortaleza against Greece. Lastly, we have Japan, a seasoned team in its prime with guys who've already made it to the knockout stages in 2010 and who'll be hungry to do it again, and who are all mostly in their mid-20s and have a dynamic and more attack-minded setup. This'll certainly prove a threat to all three teams out there. Japan will start off against Ivory Coast in Recife, a match I'm sure they're going to go all out in. Then a few days later, they face a considerably easier match against Greece in Natal, and leaving the worst for last, they'll have Colombia and Cuiabá in their closer. Japan has proven they're capable of taking on tough opposition, having a complicated group in 2010 and stepping up to the challenge. Before that, they were usually considered a traditional 3-and-out team, but today, very few still underestimate their potential. My prediction is pretty straightforward this time around. Colombia and Japan to advance, Ivory Coast and Greece to be left behind. Not really much to say here. Colombia has a lot to prove to their people, and with Jose Pekerman coaching them, a proven World Youth Championship winner, he's turned that team into a beast of a team. Their current FIFA ranking was not suddenly achieved by mistake and accident. Greece hasn't had much in the way of challenge and are iffy at best. Ivory Coast is slowing down but has lots of experience behind them. Japan has a lot of potential and are in their physical prime. It's going to be a fun group to keep an eye on, that's for sure.
Hope you enjoyed this look at Group C. If you liked it, hope you'll stick around for the next one. Till next time, dear viewer.